Daily Devils, happy Friday. Oh, here we are. What is it? It's about 1 o'clock here on this Friday the 6th. I'm going to take a very quick, brief look at Bitcoin and spin around a few other pairs and assets that we've looked at over the last week or two. Well, it's an interesting day. Of course, many of you, I'm sure, are seeing what's happening in the broader indexes. Any of you that have never witnessed a gamma squeeze, well, this is the entire market is in a gamma squeeze, right? Damn near. Last I checked, the S&P was up 103 points off the low, 103 intraday. And that's got absolutely nothing to do with any fundamental news. That's just the way the markets work these days with a trillion plus in zero DTE, right? Market starts to go, right? Even despite the negative news, once the call buying started in tech, dealers, they have no choice, right? I mean, they're buying calls. Who are they buying them from? They're buying from dealers. Once this thing starts to rocket, they have to buy, right? It feeds on itself. Now, I made this comment to the group, you know, everybody's fine with this when it's on the upside. There will be a day when this feeds on itself, right? The higher it goes, the more they have to buy, the more they buy, the more it's a self-feeding frenzy. There will be a day where this happens on the downside, so enjoy it if you're participating in this today. We're likely to stall here. We're hitting some, not to get into a whole thing on gamma exposure, but we're hitting some positive gamma up here at, I'm looking at the SPY here, around 430, 432. You should start to slow down here. But again, we're the NQ's up 233, the YM 345, 50 now in the S&P after being down 50. It's remarkable, right? This is, you can't fight it. You can't bitch about it. It's the reality of the market's. It's not going to change. Way too much money being made. Way too much money being made by the brokerage firms. This isn't going to change, so you have to adapt, right? So you need to have, if you're trading traditionals, you got to have some insight into how the options markets are essentially moving the markets, right? It's the tail wagging the dog. That's what's happening today. Okay, so I've got Bitcoin up in front of us here, right, which is, well, we're in this, what, $6,500K, or $6,000, $7,000 range, right? Until we get out of this, it's almost, I mean, is it worth a video? Shit, I'm not even so sure it is. The one thing I will say here is we can look here. I mean, I've been over this so many times. This certainly looks like a 3, right? Now, could it turn into some sort of a diag? Well, maybe. I wouldn't go there just yet. I think, so this, here I'm on BitGet, of course, right, as our sponsor. If we're going to look at this as a truncation in the 5th here, this being a liquidation wick, I know we've looked at this here so many times here, just for review, we've got some new people. All right, something like an ABC here cannot be eliminated here. All right, so I don't even have a count on this because it just is, it can be counted multiple ways. We've counted it, God, I think we've been through every possible scenario here. Just to kind of finish this off here, if we're going to hold here and there's some sort of a B going in here, we might push this off a little bit. Now we're talking, after the first of the year for a potential rollover to get the final pivot low on the assumption that we completed something here, right? Now you got to wiggle it a little bit here, but you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And so you can do it this way, right? I've seen a lot of good Ellioticians count it this way, right? We can do it that way. That hasn't been my first thought here, but as we just stagnate, well, are we stagnating today? That's 27, right? Well, we've been here before. As we stay stuck in this range here between what, 30, 32, and 24. Okay, could count it this way, could count it some other ways. Right? I mean, there's probably 3, 4 different ways you could count it in here, and we're just not going to know. Obviously, we're about to come into some supply up here, right? The supply here, I'm on a daily. I am not in log, right? I'm just in arithmetic. A, B, come down for the C, somewhere in here. This would be more typical where we'd find a wave 2, right? If it's going to trade as a wave 2, right? It remains to be seen. But we can certainly look here and say, well, okay, maybe there's a start on an impulse here. You wouldn't be calling this the A wave if we were starting on an impulse here. You'd probably, some combo. Again, there are multiple ways to count it here, so we don't have a lot of conviction in an Elliott count here. So, what does that mean, right? Do you not trade it? Well, you know, if the Elliott guides you exclusively, you know, perhaps you wait for more clarity for the market to reveal a bit more, right? If we come up here and we hit some of this potential, right? It's always just potential supply up here, as there's likely to be a reaction here. As we come into that supply, right, can we push through it? Maybe. Remember, the data today, what's so bizarre about this movement here, again, why it's so disconnected from any fundamental reality, the inclination based on the jobs data we got this morning is we have more rate hike, at least one more rate hike coming, at least, right? So if we pop over here, and this is about all I have to say here on Bitcoin. We got to wait and see, right? Now, if we come down here into the low 20s, are you disappointed? Well, I mean, if you're looking for a strong location for a buy, right? If you could buy it down here, I don't know that that's what's coming. But I sure would be interested down here if we could see something like this, right? Of course, I have no idea if that's what's coming. You know, it's a very mixed bag, right? So the sentiment, you know, we still got the Bankman-Fried trial going on. You know, you've got general sentiment across the market, those that don't live and breathe crypto, as far as they're concerned. It was all just a big scam, and Bankman-Fried's trial is, you know, perhaps the comeuppance of all of that. We shall see. I think those that spend more time studying, understanding the potential of crypto would suggest a bad actor, a guy who got in over his skis, right? $30 billion at 30. Is he going to blow up the whole industry? I think not. Right, and I don't think you need to tar the technology because you had one rogue guy get. Personally, I don't think he intended to blow everything up. I don't think it was an intentional scam. I think the whole thing just got away from him. But that's my opinion. Okay, so there's not much to do here until we see, right, what's going to happen here if we get into this supply. Well, the one thing here, let me hide this. To note here, so here's the 50%. So I've got Sonar Labs, right? We like them for market structure. Excuse me. Here's the discount premium rate. Hang on. Sorry. Coming back here, we just wicked through. Well, you can see what happened here, right? The liquidity was run there. Not a big surprise, right? So here's every pivot, right? In every market, always, ever, forever, right? It's certainly, as we exist now in this computer age, every pivot's a target, always will be. And so, and I say that not to be glib, not to be like, oh, okay, they swept the stops here. Yes, they did. But so that's our reality, right? This is how the algorithms trade now, right? They're looking for liquidity. Where's the liquidity? On the other side of every pivot. So that can be annoying, right? If you were short here and you got wicked. I mean, there's pros and cons to this. Let's think again, because we can't change this. Let's think about how we can use this. So, for example, and we'll look at it in the indexes as well when we pop over there today. If you look here, so this is a good example here. As we're coming down here, there's a truckload, I'll say that, of stops down here, right? Just as there were a truckload down here, right? Just huge, right? And here, right? So when the significance here is when you get that close and the algos, for whatever reason, can't sweep that liquidity and we start to go back the other direction, that's a tell. Right? Because there was definitely an effort to get the liquidity there when for whatever reason, right, the buy side algos take over, right, and we pop out of here, back in here, here's the fair value gap, and then they start to go, leaving this that close. Boy, is that a tell, right, of strength, of impending strength to come. Right now here, right, they've swept it. Now a little retrace back to again, it's always just potential demand. Okay, where's the next target, right? So now when you look at this, you want to be looking, going, okay, well, where's the next target? Well, here, I can use this little fucker right here. Well, is there any question about where the target is? Do you think maybe there's some stops, right? Somebody who went short there, I don't know how many people or institutions or whatever, right? Went short there, where are their stops? Retail, anyone trading with leverage, where's their stop? So if they go and get this, right, then the next pivot, right, well, where would be the next target? And the next target, right? Same thing happened up here. Same thing happened here. Right, it's one nice thing here with Sonar Labs, and there's a few other of these I'm going to introduce you to that I've been, kind of dabbling with. Maybe give you a lower cost alternative. I mean, Sonar Labs is very excellent, but they're not the least expensive. What do we have here, right? We've just got more of a traditional measured move here. We've gone past the algo target, which makes you think you've got A to B equals B to C, right? But we would want to check this anyway. Look right here, right? So there's there's your traditional, your classic, I'll call them classic measured move, right? Not the contemporary measured move that David Halsey introduced us to. A to B equals C to D, right? It's to the tick. It's perfect, right? Do you think there might be some stops there, right? Well, number one, again, we as human beings, we're not that precise, right? Only software can do that. So you think maybe a software driven? Likely, right? Now, as it sits there, likely to get swept. But we don't, for us, in terms of, okay, where are we going here? If you're trying to put an Elliott count on this, it doesn't, well, where would you be anticipating you'd get some reaction? Right now, look where the supply is. It doesn't make you want to, get heavy-handed on the buy side. Not yet, right? So as it comes up here, now I'm not saying it can't get through. Of course, I would never say that, right? Because that would be a stupid thing to say. Of course it can. But I don't want to buy into it. Why would anyone who has any awareness of what's happening here, why would you buy that? Oh, because I think it's going to 100,000. Okay, well, fine. But the way, if you want to survive the markets for long, we don't want to buy right into, let's just call it supply, right? You're not convinced, I find that hard to believe, of how significant that golden zone is right there. But let's just say it breaks through, right? Well, okay, what's likely to happen next, right? So you never need to buy that, right? You never, ever need to buy a breakout, ever. Market will come back, right? Not, there are times where it won't, right? I'm not saying there are no absolutes in the market. There are no nevers, no always, none of that stuff, right? There is none of that in the market. Market can do whatever it wants. But I wouldn't want to buy into that. I wouldn't want to buy into the 50 here. What are you trying to do? I mean, if you're scalping, maybe, right? You're just after the stops that are up there. So actually, what's the trade here, right? Sweep this and short it. That's the trade. If I, gun to my head, somebody said, put together a trade plan, I'd consider the long here, but this is the target, right? Because same thing the algos are after, right? There's stops up there, right? So run the stops, run right into the supply in the golden zone, right? You decide when, the two of them together, all the more significant, and then where's your target? Right here, right? Where are we looking for a wave 2 between the 50 and the golden zone? So maybe that target would tee it right up, and you'd have your ABC. Do I know that's going to happen? No, of course not. But if someone said to me, what's most probable here? Well, I can see the bait is right here, right? I mean, they're just waving at it. Come get me. So, you can almost look and see, oh God, if they run that, right, who's going to buy there, right? Retail, many of them won't know that golden zone's there. They won't know their supply there. They don't, it's not, they just don't know, right? So that's a lack of information. It's not that they're what do I want to say, right? They're just, they lack that information, right? So to see that, I mean, always think, what's the risk, right? What's the reward? So let's say you're putting it on the other side, right? This is your target. It's 4 to 1, and that's a pretty good stop. You're giving it there. That's giving it plenty of room. So size accordingly, but that's the trade. That's the trade. I would propose to you. All right, let's get off of Bitcoin's. Bitcoin's boring. Okay, let's go. ETH, not much better. Well, there's ETH. Let's bring it up. Almost identical. Right, we're going to go. This is, what are we doing, right? It's a giant sideways clusterfuck, and we're likely to do this, right? This is just going to continue until the regulatory issues get sorted out, right? It's just not. I mean, for the big crypto majors, okay, eventually something's going to come, but right now they're not particularly attractive for trading, right? Low volatility, right? Bitching about crypto being so volatile. How could it be a store of value? It's so volatile. Well, take a look at the stock indexes today and tell me what's more volatile. Okay. All right, not much to do here. Same thing, right? Just boring everybody to death, right? But it will, right? So from all of this consolidation and this boredom and this come on, do something, right? That's smart money, if you want to use that. Likely accumulating. Retail throwing their hands up. Half the population thinks it's all a scam. You know, for us, it's you know, something. We're going to come down a little deeper and do it. Maybe this is a combo coming a little deeper, right? There will be a time to buy. And if you're saying like, oh shit, man, well, what if this goes, right? What if we go? Well, you don't ever need to buy breakouts, ever, right? If you want to survive in the market for long, you'll learn that either from me, someone else, or the market's going to teach it to you. Okay, there we go. Not much to do with the big dogs. I thought, let's go back and circle back to a couple that we looked at. I think it was 2 weeks ago. Last week I was out of town. That's the only reason I didn't have a video on Friday. We are house shopping, city shopping, state shopping. All right, so I was in Colorado, where I spent a good chunk of my life, because I can't stand to live with these allergies anymore. So we're actively looking for a new place to live. So we spent the weekend house hunting, and particularly liked Fort Collins. Little, not that you give a shit, right? But that's likely where we're going to end up next year. So I'll be broadcasting hopefully from Fort Collins this time next year. Okay, so this is Rune. This is a tricky one, right? So we had looked at this last week. I'm going to go over or 2 weeks ago, pardon me. So okay, it's kind of a fat. It's not the prettiest setup here, because you get this long sideways two here. What do I got? There's a 4 hour. I mean, it's really flat and sideways. Okay, now this, it had appeared that we had a good triangle here, right? I mean, it is a triangle. But given what we have here, we don't get the good finish. Now I get an impulse here. It's a little bit of a head scratcher, because what it looks to me like you have to change this count. Like this can't fly. Now one possibility here, 1 2 1 2, right? That is a possibility. But it's sitting here right now because if I'm gonna move that, right? So if I put this right here, seems like a better fit, but then the 4 is going to have to move over, because you're going to need this what is currently labeled as the DC. You're going to need that as the 1 2 3 4 5 to get up here. So it could be, now that could change, right? If we skyrocket out of here, maybe you're back here, but just because I'm in this, right? So and I had suggested this last week. You got a awfully nice rip off of that, but pardon me. I think this was a live stream that we were looking at this. It's because we don't overlap this here, and you can. Here's an impulse. Here's an impulse, right? So it's either A, B, C, which wouldn't make any sense to be topping up here, or you got to reconsider this. Perhaps we're going W, X, Y, right, with truncation here, and you got to go 1 2, right? So this would be the 4, which I don't love, right? But I liked the triangle, but looking at this, looks like that might be the way we have to count this, right? Now markets will do this to you. So you can't lock in too hard on one count, right? So with this kind of reaction here, and I know we've come just tag the 233 to the tick. Look at the lips of the Vegas wave, lips of the Vegas wave, Vegas wave, just beautiful all the way up. Now, are we done here? Well, I can't say I love this, having to put the 4 here. I don't see a better solution because of what comes off of it. A, B, C, I think works here. 1 2 3 4 5, right? So you got an impulse here. 1 2 3 4 5. I got an impulse here. 1 2 3 4 5. I got another impulse here. So I got 5 3 5 3 5, right? I got to deal with that. I've got to figure it in. I don't love it. Boy, it was a great triangle, but I think we're stuck here now. So that would suggest, okay, if we completed here, if we just put it all together, where's a reasonable target? Oh, it's the same, right? Same thing every time, right? There's no reason to assume, oh, well, if we're going to come down, if this completed here, if, what do I have underneath? Nothing. Okay, if this completed here, then we're gonna correct this. Well, here's where, that's where I'd be looking, somewhere in here. This is just a cluster F right here. All of this, so you can see all this consolidation, right, where we just sit right in here, and then look how that fits in with the volume profile, of course, right? All this indecision. Well, if we're coming back down here, now there's been a little kick here off of this demand zone here. Despite that, this is a great looking triangle, I'm less comfortable going 1 2 1 2. Okay, that was going to require a monster leg coming out of here, and I don't see that given where we are with Bitcoin, ETH. How an alt like this could rip that hard. Now, if it does, I'm long, right? So I'm not going to be sad. I think that's lower probability, so I wouldn't be suggesting, oh, great time to buy. But I do like it a little bit lower, right? If you could buy it somewhere in this pocket. Okay, let's just pop through a few of these. That's Rune. This is TRX. All right, so this is one we looked at where there's just no Elliott count here that's workable, but there's a very nice just market structure, right? Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, right? But interestingly, while this is just a sloppy mess of, it's not even worth counting, right? When it's that choppy, sloppy with this kind of wick madness, I don't even attempt to try count it, right? If it's just not there, it's not there. But note what happens here. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, which is often the way Elliott will work, the Elliott just shows up, right? Right, it starts right here. Now I get a perfect impulse. I don't have one here. I don't have one here. I don't have one here. But all of a sudden, oh, I get a beauty. It's not like, I mean, it's a beauty. 1 2 3 4 5. We're starting on that correction. Oh shit! Here, let's get this out of here. God, is that making it harder to see? Here, let me get some of these. Let me hide some of that. Right, so, oh, here we can hide this as well. Okay, right, so 1 2 1 2 3 4 5 A B C. Looks like you got to go 1 2 3. It's still a little slop choppy. We got to count it somehow. It's not corrective, right? So it looks like we've got a pretty good impulse here. So we can, just knowing that, we can just kind of tee this up and say, okay, all of this that came before it, I'm not going to worry about it. Right? But what I can definitely see here is, okay, here's the PDA. Well, let's do it this way. Right? So here's the current PDA, right? Primary discount array, right? As the smart money folks like to call it. I'm not suggesting selling it here, but here's where we are, right? And we're up in the premium. Up in the premium. I don't want to be counter trend, so I'd be down here very interested, right? Oops. Now we start to put that back together right here, coming back towards, now we'll see, right? Is this 1 2 3 4 A, B, C, something like that? That's what I'd be looking for. That's one to keep an eye on, right? Because all of a sudden, we've got a pretty solid looking trend in place. Now, this being the strong low. Pardon me. This is the strong low. This is the last high, right? So from this, it's got a job to do. Didn't make it on that run. Strong. Right, here's the last low. Right, now it's got a job to do. It has not done it yet. So maybe, right, to be somewhat consistent with this, we're coming back down here. We hit the edge of that channel, and then we go up, and then we break this. And we'll have another low here, right? This will just be intermediate, right? Because here's the strong, here's the two pivots that are creating the PDA here, right? So this is unknown. These are unknown yet because all we know is that this is weak. right? This is strong, right? It broke this, right? So this, as we come down here, this doesn't do its job of giving us a new low. So we get the temporary low, let's call it that, right? On its way to break the high to become a strong low, not there yet. So one to watch, if we correct down here somewhere in this range, that'd be one I'd have my eyes on. So, you know, you don't have to watch it every day, you just put an alert on it. Comes down here, right? Do we do it in a nice 3? Are we doing it in a 5? How are we doing it? That'd be one to watch. Get an alert on. Maker, here's another one that we looked at. Now this is probably the ugliest count, right? And I guess many people felt the same way, right? It's just so ugly here. That 2 is so big relative to the 4, right? If that's how it's going to trade. It's just too much time, too deep, relative right now. But I get an impulse here, and I got new highs. So this impulse here is clean, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's solid, right? And the subdivision is there. Good looking 4. That looks impulsive. Not every Elliott count is going to be just the way you like it, right? In fact, most won't be, right? So when you get them where they're just drop dead, can't miss them, those are the ones where you make some money. Here, I'd like it better higher, right? So if this were coming out of here and this was going to be 1, I'd rather see the 2 here, and we're going to get a big 3, 4. Let's do it that way, something like that, right? Then maybe this starts to balance out a little bit better here. If I get this giant 5th up here, if we had not had a new high here, I'd have been very suspicious of this, right? Potentially rolling over deeper and turning into a diag. But right now, that looks like with that new high, we may be stuck with this. That's a harsh sell-off, right? It's tempting to go, oh, we'll just start it here. But 1, 2 doesn't quite work. I mean, could it be? Fuck, yeah, of course it could be. But I don't think there's many Elliotticians who would bring this up and go, oh, let's truncate this. Here's the low, here's the 1, here's the 2. I think that's less probable, not impossible, right? The stock market, do whatever it wants. All right, this maker, that's one to keep an eye on as well. I would suggest, as we are now putting in, we put in a new high and coming back to challenge it. Let's see what this looks like. What am I on, a 24 hour? Let's go to a 4. Just real quick. Looks like you got a pretty good start on a 1, 2. So that could be done. This looks like some choppy monster. You might have to truncate that here, right? Here's a liquidation wick. That's not the greatest start. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, looks like that could be done as well. So, it's always a good idea to you kind of got to pencil them in. Now, is that the prettiest I've ever seen? No. Right? Oh, that's an ugly looking 1. Have to do a WXY into that 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's possible you have to do it this way. Let's just double check that. Right, when in doubt, measure. Oh, plenty there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't love that, but that might get us done here. All right, so then you see the disconnect in terms of that having the right look. Doesn't have the right look, but there's an impulse, correction, impulse. One to watch. Okay, so I don't think there's a trade there. This is one that I just recently started positioning, right? So I bought some here, prepared to buy some more at the golden zone here if it comes. This is CRV to the dollar tether on BitGet here. Pretty nice little push off of the low here. Oh, ran into some. This is you get a little bit wicky here. That's not the. Well, welcome to crypto. But the risk reward here is pretty friendly here. Stop under the golden zone here or under one of these fair value gaps here. So you've got good potential here. This could roll. All right, we'll see if we get. All right, are we going to stay corner? Are we going to go golden? I'm fine either way. I'm just going to split my fills. I'm just going to average down until we get to the 65, and then I will probably bail if we break that, because the premise is this is A, some sort of choppy B down to a C. Okay, well there's there's a contender. That's one to watch, right? If we can get some legs out of here. Right now, so as it sits right now, right? If indeed that is the pivot, I got 80% odds there. I'm gonna have to move that over just a hair, right? So got a decent reaction to the 50. I got 80% odds there. Now 80, not 100. All right, so don't forget that, right? There just as well be something here. Let's do it on the other side. Remember, always, always, always an algo on the other side. All right, so we hit the 50 here. So there's just, right, just a fib fight. Right, buy side, sell side, right? Whoever's behind this does not give a flying fuck which side wins, right? But look at that targeting. Right, if we come up here, bang that. Now you look at it and you go, well, wait a minute, wouldn't that be 80% odds that they're gonna get that? All right, we're gonna go down here. Yes. Secondary pivot. I wouldn't give that a lot of credence, but 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, if that's happening, right? Crypto is rolling. Yeah, come here. Yeah, we got to deal with that. All still to come. Here's the path that seems like a good candidate here. If we can go 1, 2, 1, right, then you just do another one. 1, 2. Oh, pretty good free draw. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll see. One to watch. Another one that's just reacting technically. How am I doing on time? 31. Okay, I think I covered all 4 of those. I did. Quickly, I think these are a couple again looked at. I'm trying to move fast here. This is TLRY, right? This is I'm in this. Right. Adjusted the count. It had looked like we had a 3-4. We had a potential here. Just based on the price action here. This looks like a better fit. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 looks solid. The prior thought had been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A, expand the B coming down for C, but I don't think we have that here. This is a great looking 3. So a little, you got to adjust. Got to adjust based on what the market's giving. So deep correction, but we go right into a golden. So what do we have here? Golden corner pocket. Why do we love the golden corner? Because the risk reward is so favorable, right? So just you use 707, right? You want to give, there's some fair value guess, some imbalance down here if you want to give that a little bit more room. But just to the first target there, that's 13 to 1. Relatively inexpensive, right? TLRY, relatively, right? Now that doesn't mean load up on it. It just means if you're looking at a $400 stock, you're probably going to look at options. If you're looking at a $2 stock, you buy the underlying. You still buy the options if you prefer, right? But with this price point, why, right? That's your price of your options. Could be more than that. Just buy the underlying, put a stop on it, right? Don't do this. Don't put it down here, right? There's no reason to stick. If it's going to break here, right? We lose the big algo, right? Now, could we pick up another corner lower? Yes, we could. Yes, you could, right? You still get that 80%. But here, you got the big dog here out cutting the path for us, right? We want to tuck in behind them when we can, and you get a much lower risk, right? I mean, you can tighten that up even more. There's 17 to 1. TLRY, right? It's one we looked at before. I am in that. This is PLTR, another one that I'm in that I like. I had to chase this a little bit. I wanted it a little bit lower. I didn't get filled, so I took a piece of it. Not as much as I wanted, because there's a possibility this could roll a little bit lower. But as it sits right now, 1, 2, 3 looks like a pretty good 4. Well, there's not much not to like, right? We're right in line. We double bottom. Okay, right. So things to note, right? So we double bottom here at the 38. Okay, right. So here's the actually, if I move this up, there's the actual low. Right now, as we were talking about this before, there are stops below this pivot. There are stops below this pivot. The fact that they don't get swept is telling. Very telling, right? Which is where we started the whole conversation here. You're telling me, right? There weren't stops down there that they didn't want to get. Well, there were. There's still stops down there. what are we running into from above, right? You have to do this. Right, 50, 50. Pretty good line of support here, right on the low at the edge here. This is often where you'll see it, right? It'll be on the ledge before we break to the next high volume node here. So this whole range here is what essentially what we're doing. Nice channeling. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A, B, C. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, we're getting a start on a 1 here to get going into the 5. Right, that's, if anything, that's the 1 of the 5. Looks good. All right, some people disagree with that count. Some of my guys, right? Well, it's not. It's just warning, right? We could go a different direction. Oh, let's pull this in. That's why, right? So you look and you go, hey, right? Or as I will often, you hear me say, wonder why it stops there. Right, we're going up, we're going up, we're going up. Hey, whoa, why do we stop there? Why there? There it is, right? That's why. Okay, how do we do? I got everybody. Who did I have over here? No, that's no, that's it. That's TLRY. Okay, I think we got everybody. Let's quick, because this is what, you know, the market is focused on. How we doing? We're still holding up. Jesus, is that 60 in the S&P? Just incredible. Well, here's a, you know, got the market all afire. This is the 30-year. Pretty good looking 5, right? So we come over to the, here's the yield. So is this, are we topping, right? Is that, our yield, are we topping up here? What did we get to? Just shy of 5%. We're topping here now to support this massive rally today. Is that the assumption that the highs are in on yield and we can all relax and here we're coming back down? Well, it's an absolutely spectacular impulse. It's a daily. Just spectacular. Okay, well, so the whole everything turns around here. One payroll report, double top, right? Remember what I was just saying, right? Did they sweep them? Yes, they did. Swept. Right? You know somebody was short here. Oh no. Are they? Oh no. Oh, are they actually going to get my stop? It's more probable they will, right? So when they don't, that's why I draw that to your attention, right? When they don't, right? When they can't get them, that's when you want to pay attention, right? If you're sitting right here, putting your stop one tick over that is a bad idea, right? Just because of this phenomenon. This is so consistent now, pretty much every market there is, right? Most obscene in FX, right? Because they'll widen the spread just to get you. But again, my point being, you should anticipate that it will happen. When it doesn't happen, that's the tell. Yeah, we'll see if this is enough to turn. If we've got a top in, could we? I suppose we could. Oh shit! I mean, there's someone who's. I just told you guys I'm house hunting. All right, I got to sell this one and buy the next one. Okay, right. So my pool of buyers just got smaller at. Well, what are we at? Almost 7% on a 30-year, and then I got to step into the market at that kind of price point. So I don't love it, but I don't think we have rates coming down. My view, not till maybe late next year before we see any rate reduction. Okay, so I think I got everybody covered. Just to show you how absolutely insane this was here. We can do it two ways here. So I trade these a lot, right? Here's the micro, right? Because it's just more flexible. So, you know, it's just beautiful, Elliott, right? So now we came in here, you had that negative report, everybody was shit in the bed. Oh my God, we're falling through the floor. That Elliott count's going to break down. Look how absolutely drop dead perfect that is. And this is the futures, right? Now it's actually even cleaner in the SPY, which, if you want to trade, you know, it's a proxy for trading futures. You can trade the SPY. It doesn't have the same volatility, but it's much lower risk to trade, right? So 1, 2. This was a little funky. A, B, C. It was questioned early. Could it be 1, 2, 3, 4? I think this is a better fit given the length of time. Remember, again, look at the channeling, right? The time in the 2 relative to the 4. Now it's a little funky that we went. It's likely a WXY. This is just a zigzag. You can see the 5 to finishes. It's A, B, C. It's just, can't make this shit up, right? It's just textbook. To the 50, to the tick. There's the MACD about to cross over. Right, nice channeling, little throw over, right? Just enough to come down and tag the 50, right? So the algo fires. Where's their target? So you know that's what's a little. How do you reconcile this, right? So the Elliott count would suggest that we're going to challenge the new highs, challenge the high. Is that our all-time? Yeah, that is our all-time. So with interest rates heading towards 6-7%, we're heading towards all-time highs. Think about that for a second. Hard to say. You're better not. You're almost better not to try and figure out the fundamentals, right? Because this makes no sense, right? Given that jobs report, most people thought we'd be doing that, right? Boy, did a whole lot of people get a very ugly surprise today, right, in their accounts, right? Unless they were on top of it. I was long, right? I was long SPY calls, right? Just because of this perfect technical setup. When the market dumped and then the market opened, I think my calls were down 65-70%, and I just put a limit order to try and get out at half their value. That's typically what I'll do. I mean, that happened so fast. I didn't spend a lot on them, right? But I think I had a 1 DTE. I promise you, I was not anticipating that we would be up 60 points, right? So I just was going to try and get out at half the value, right? Which is typically what I like to risk on an option. So I was like, oh shit, wow, that was fast. It started to come up. I just put, oh shit, maybe I can get out at half, right? Only a 50% loss. And right, who saw that coming? I didn't. But these were only one day to expiration, so didn't have a whole lot of time to make that decision. Now, as we see, it looks tiny, but you got to look at it in perspective. Let me bring this over here, and then I got to get out of here. Shit, I got to wrap up. Let's go to a 15-minute. All right, here's the news. Here was the news. Now, not only have we recouped all that because that was negative news, right? The implication being more rate hikes to come. Now, we have recovered all of it plus 100%. So how do you? Well, I promise you, right? The talking heads will find a way to reconcile this, right? They have to justify, reconcile, whatever, right? Do we have an Elliott count here? No, you don't. There's not one. What do we have here? We have just a big box of volatility. I probably do it like this. Up, down, this. Right, that's what a gamma squeeze looks like, right? Because they start buying calls, dealers on the other side, they got to hedge futures to stay delta neutral, right? The higher it goes, the more they have to buy. Right, it feeds on itself. That's why we are still pushing the highs here today, right? Because they have to hedge, right? Shit, before I started this, the entire board of everything was red. Now everything is green. Amazing, right? This is a new world we live in. You cannot fight it. You have to embrace it, and you have to learn how to deal with it. Right? If you're trading, anything. We don't have this phenomenon in crypto yet. Likely we will. Okay, guys, I got to get out of here, but I hope I didn't ramble and bore you to death, right? This is just one of those days where there's not much you can do if you weren't really positioned for it, right? And I was positioned for it, but good God, who saw? What? That's got to be 120 points, right? Just welcome to the brave new world. Okay, guys, have a good weekend. I'll catch you next week.